New Yorkers are growing more and more familiar with participatory budgeting. But how about participatory theater? And no, we don't mean getting to pick which character is the murderer. This Saturday, the 5th Annual Legislative Theater Festival will wrap up here at BRIC House. And the audience and elected officials are asked to suggest and vote on the solutions to the problems they've just seen dramatized right on the stage.
And those issues are very real ones, taken from the lives of the actors who have faced income inequality, homelessness, and of course, gun violence, among other things. The folks behind it all, Theater of the Oppressed NYC. But before we introduce them, here's a little taste of what this is all about.
Oh, is that your phone? I got it. Oh, okay. Theater of the Oppressed NYC.
Hi, this is Carlos Menchaca, and I'm in Sunset Park. And we've got some injustice to bust.
We got this. Let's go bust injustice.
Hey!
Yeah!
Three troops, put them in 3 different boroughs, give 3 free shows, and then you have the 5th Annual Legislative Theater Festival.
Together, we're building solidarity and generating policy change through interactive theater. Watch actors perform stories about their real-life experiences. And it's our job to act out our ideas and work together to find solutions. We're not just spectators, we're spect-actors. Vote on policy changes that you proposed and make your voice heard by city legislators.
Who you gonna call? Injustice Busters!
All right. They ain't afraid of no solutions. Now, here to tell us more is founder and executive director Katy Rubin. Welcome back to BK Live.
Thanks. We're happy to be here.
Well, we're also happy to have us at the table Rebecca Kelly Golfman, the creative advocacy coordinator and joker, I'm told. Thanks for being here. And actor and youth organizing to save our streets, Siobhan Jackson. Thanks for being here, Siobhan.
Hi.
Good wave over there.
You know, it's another year. It's another season, right? So here we go yet again. It's so good to have you back. For our people who haven't heard of the Theater of the Oppressed, how did this start, Katy? And what has been the reaction to the Legislative Festival?
So Theater of the Oppressed is used all over the world. It comes from Brazil, and really now it's really international, 70 countries. And here in New York City, we're just about 6 years old. And the Legislative Theater Festival is 5 years old. So, you said before, the audience is invited to generate ideas and solutions to problems, and that's how we work all the time. But we started doing that and having audiences brainstorm with actors, and then we said, you know what, sometimes the problems really need to be changed on a policy level. We can't just...
You
got to get those policymakers in there. Yeah.
How did you get the politicians actually to come in there? Because it's one thing to get them here for an interview, but to get them to speak off the cuff and with solutions. How did you do that?
That's a great question. Well, we've spent the last 5 months on the phone and some meetings. And I will say that there are, we've got a big progressive caucus in the city council right now. And so Jimmy Van Bramer and Carlos Menchaca, who are up on the screen right now, they were early adopters. Is that how, Apple says it, right? And so, and Carlos Menchaca in particular studied theater in college. So we try to get in with their interests. And then this year we have some new council members participating who are also excited about, participatory democracy.
Exactly.
Well, I'm going to go to the creative advocacy coordinator.
Yes.
That's a mouthful, but I imagine it's even a bigger job than it is to say. How do you synthesize all of the different strains of issues that we're facing into something that's digestible and people ready to contribute to?
You mean within the legislative theater process?
In the theater space, yeah, in the space, and just working with your colleagues to say, let's go with this.
Sure. So the biggest thing as far as legislative theater is that I actually don't need to digest things for the spect-actors.
Gotcha.
It's the spect-actors that are, along with the actors, brainstorming about ideas to respond to the oppression that they see on...
Spect-actors.
Oh, yes.
Get at that.
Sure. So when you come to see a Theater of the Oppressed show, you aren't just going to sit and watch the play and take in that experience. Not that that's not a beautiful thing to do, but you're going to take in the experience and you're going to engage with the actors to brainstorm tactics and ways to respond to the oppression that you just saw. So we say you're not just a spectator, you're a spect-actor, because you're going to come onto the stage and try out ideas in this active brainstorming to find responses to the oppression in the play. And then the follow-up from that for legislative theater is to actually brainstorm laws and policies that can respond to that underlying oppression as well. So they're distilling the ideas down, really.
Sounds like a good first date. Stay woke.
You know, sometimes it's really hard to get people to perform. You know, I like to think there's always a performer in all of us, but sometimes it's hard to get people to take to the stage. So how do you sort of draw out the scenes? How do you sort of make the scenes progress? And how do you keep the actors on focus?
We try to make it as real as possible, like not boring, not put you to sleep boring, not I want to go home boring, but I want to stay here and I want to see what's going to happen because it's more like a cliffhanger every time you leave a scene because you want to know what's coming next.
Always leaving wanting more.
Exactly.
So who's the worst politician who's ever been on stage? Like just the worst actor, Siobhan? Name names.
We don't like to point out bad actors. We say everyone is a good actor. It's never a wrong answer when it's reality.
It's never a wrong answer when it's reality. So what are some of the things that you're getting at in reality now when folks come to the Stoop May 13th, yes?
Well, yes.
What are we going to be seeing? What are we facing here?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we can maybe toss that back to Siobhan, actually, just some of the things going on in the play.
Okay, so the play is based on me and my coworkers' real-life oppression and what we go through as teenagers, which we basically, our key points are street harassment, school systems, and
gun violence.
Gun violence, yeah. So we basically put all our experiences with either one of those or two of those, and we put it into one big play.
How many different topics and troops are there?
At Theater of the Oppressed NYC?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we work with about 10 troops at a time.
10 troops?
Yeah, and they're all making plays, performing in all 5 boroughs. So in this Legislative Theater Festival on Sunday at the Queens Museum, it was around immigration. The play was in Spanish and English with recent immigrants.
Perfect.
And
It's bilingual too.
It was bilingual. That was our first bilingual legislative theater. Had simultaneous translation devices. That's pretty cool. Yeah. And then tomorrow night we have another one with adults with experience of homelessness, actually about cultural equity and access. But the Brooklyn event is really rooted in issues that are going on in Brooklyn.
Well, how do you think this sort of makes, I guess, a difference in the current sort of political climate that we live in? You know, this is the fifth one, so it's a difference between the first, the second, the third, or the fourth. How is this year different?
So I think one of the big things that we added this year is our Get Activated sessions after each of the plays.
Resist.
Yes, always, right? So once we get the top 3 ideas that have come out of this whole legislative theater process, the question is how do we make sure that these policies actually do become law or practice within the city. And there's a variety of ways to do that, both operating within a system and outside of the system, and we think that both of those are important. So after the play, we want to get our spect-actors excited and introduced to different ways to do that. So these Get Activated sessions allow people to rehearse talking about policies. They're trying to persuade people to get on board. We call that Rehearse It. We have Design It, where people have the opportunity to brainstorm about how art and activism can come together. So in addition to traditional rallies and town halls, how can we use our creativity to push forward some ideas and things that we want to see happen in policy and share it, which gives us a brief background of power mapping, which is one element of community organizing. How do we speak to power? And also, what is the legislative process? That's our last one, is legislate it. How does a proposal move through the city level legislature and come out as law on the other side. So everyone has an intro to that
Right.
and gets excited to take steps after the play.
So this is like people go to college, grad school, doctoral theses about
Yeah.
these things.
Yeah.
So do you have any wins or ways that you can map it for us to show us how the spect-actors have walked through things that have impacted the community for the better?
Yeah, so there's been a bunch of examples in past years. So you saw on the screen Carlos Menchaca, council member in Sunset Park and Red Hook, and in 2014, which was our second year, he was there, and the municipal ID, right, the NYC ID, which is fantastic, was being developed, and he sponsored that legislation, that bill. And so the play had transgender youth, and there was a real story about
IDs.
Yeah, right. IDs, and how somebody ended up being arrested when they were, a victim of domestic violence because they didn't have an ID that matched their gender. So one of the proposals was, people knew that he was drafting the NYC ID, was to allow people to mark either gender without any doctor's notes or any documentation that could be hard to get, or even, and this was sort of the radical part, to leave it blank and not to have to list either one.
Right.
And so then that was debated, voted on. He stayed after the event talking to the actors, and that became part of that legislation.
Certainly is.
And so those are some
That's
examples.
pioneering.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And we think, that particularly you need people who are having experience of these problems to contribute, to make
Speak
those
up.
policies go right,
Yeah. That's
I
phenomenal.
mean, it just makes sense
Yeah,
when you
just
think
whisper
about
in their
it.
ear, this is the
It's the
issue.
narrative, and then it gets up there, and then they talk
Okay.
about it after. Okay.
Tell us what we're doing May 13th while Aaron connects the dots for us. May 13th, where should we be? What are we doing?
Well,
We should be here at BRIC
Right.
at 2 p.m.
Or 1 p.m.
Or 1 p.m.,
Yeah.
yes. So before the play starts
Gotcha,
at 2 p.m.
gotcha.
with one of the stars here. And from 1 to 2, we have an Advocacy Fair where we have a bunch of really phenomenal activist, advocate, artistic organizations that are going to be here that people can connect with. Then there's the play from 2 to 4, and then afterward, where people can watch,
Break out.
get involved with the interventions and create policies with the policymakers. And then afterwards, we have those get activated sessions that I mentioned. Anything that I missed?
well, no, but they will be excited to see Carlos Menchaca
Yes,
again, as
absolutely.
well as other Brooklyn council
As King
members.
Lear.
As King Lear. And Laurie Cumbo, council member, and Robert Cornegy, as well as some city folks from Department of Youth and Community Development, and all of these awesome organizations.
May 13th, find yourself at BRIC House.
Right here
for the
at
people
BRIC.
from the Theater of the Oppressed for some legislative theater. It's free.
Yeah.
It's more
Siobhan,
expensive
Rebecca,
not to come.
Katie, thank you so much.
right,
and
we appreciate
look
it.
forward to
Thank you.
seeing you
You're
on
welcome.
stage.